Right, so this is my classic Mini, 1985 Mini. It's got a Pro Motive R1 bike engine conversion, front wheel drive, loads of little goodies, and the special thing about this car is I originally built the shell and the base car when I was 17. I started when I was doing my apprenticeship as a car mechanic. It's had multiple engines, A series, 998, 1275, 1330, 1330 with a 7-port head, supercharged, turbocharged, and then finally motorbike engine powered. I then sold it when I was 27, 26, back in 2015 I believe it was that I sold it. Basically sold it after I converted it to a motorbike power, drove it for probably a year or so, and started doing track days. And basically it wasn't really suitable for track days in the current setup. It was more built, the original car, to be a fast road Mini, not a track specific car. So I sold it. I bought an MK Indy RR kit car, bike engine powered as well, and that was super good for track days. I built that and it was amazing for track days, but I'd always wanted to buy this one back, so I sold it, bought the kit car, and it's the only car I've ever really wanted back. Kept searching for it on the internet and couldn't find it. Just couldn't find it for sale. Searched its MOT history, found it being MOT'd, so I knew it was still on the road, but yeah, it was never for sale. Then at the end of 2023, I proposed to my girlfriend, and she said yes. And then apparently 4 days later I went to Australia and she managed to find it on Facebook Marketplace for sale. But when I was in Australia, she actually bought it back. She kept it hidden for 20 months until our wedding day, and then on our wedding day she presented it me back. So yeah, just amazing really. So now I've got her back, and now it gives me the chance, with more time, more experience, more funds, to actually make this into the car I want, the car it should be rather. So with it being motorbike powered, it torque steers massively, it's lowered, and it's got a lot of bump steer. The suspension's not really adequate for it, and the brakes also, although it's got good brake hardware behind the wheels, the master cylinders are standard Mini and they're not really doing what I want it to do. So we're going to strip it down and we're going to upgrade it this winter and make it basically how I want it, improve it, keep improving it, and make it better and better. It's not going to be a track car, although I will do some track days in it, but it's more to make it so it actually handles the power. It goes in as straight a line as possible. Now these never go in a straight line because they are overpowered, but we're going to improve it. So whilst the Mini's still all together and all the it's at full weight, what we're going to do is measure the ride height of it from the sill to the floor, and then we're just going to do a test on bump steer now to see where it's at, so we know once I've completed my jobs if I've actually improved it or not. So as you can see, you're getting the car jacked up. We get the shock absorber off and the coil spring out of it. This car's running on coil springs instead of rubber donuts. It's one thing that's going to be changing. But yeah, we get these stripped down so we can get measurements through its motions. Right, and so as I want to measure bump steer, but I don't actually have the appropriate exact tools to do it. I've just made up this contraption, let's call it that, to give us a rough idea of where it's going. So, car set at ride height on the chassis, and the hub is currently at ride height on the wheel. So the chassis is going to stay where it is. There's no spring, no damper. So I'm going to lift the suspension through its motion on the jack. The steering wheel's locked, and by pushing this square up to the hub, so it's nice and square on, jacking it up. Currently the set square at the end is just touching the thing, so if I jack it through the motion and we see it move away, which it is, so I'm going to try and I'm going to measure that, and then I can see exactly where it is. I've got this end of the set square touching the disc, so I can measure the distance, the gap, and then we can see through the range of travel how much it is. So if I take this down, I'm going to measure how much I've just moved the suspension by. So that's 2.2 centimeters of movement at that. So let's go 4 centimeters, which is probably more than this car's ever going to achieve. Measure it again, make sure I don't knock the square at the end. Right, let's leave it at that. That's 3 centimeters of movement there. Right, so now I'm going to place this at the end. It would be easier with 2 people, but I don't have them, so that is on the face, touching there, and then the gap is 1.7 centimeters, and we can double check by, if I just lower it down slowly, if I can, 100. That's just about to touch now, and we're going to see if we're at ride height. Yes. Right. So from the centre line to a measure is 1 metre exactly. So 1 metre. And over the course of 3 centimeters of suspension travel upwards, at 1 meter it moved 1.7 centimeters, 17 millimeters. I can actually measure droop and see what happens there as well. So let's measure droop and see how that is. So push that to there, keep that in the same position. So I'll swap that over because I'm assuming if bump went that way, in droop it's going to come this way. So look at that. So that's moved again. So that's 1 centimetre approx, and ride height out of 12. So that's a big droop. That's 5 centimetres of droop it moved. So actually from the ride height up 3 centimetres is the biggest change. And that's where my problem is. So every time I hit a bump, it's... Right then, so doing those measurements, with 3 centimetres of suspension raise, so bump, I'm gaining 1 degree of bump steer, so towing in 1 degree on just the upward stroke, just on bump. On droop, I haven't calculated this, but again I get toe out on droop. So part of the mods is going to be to try and make this better. Now this car currently doesn't have adjustable bottom arms at all. It's got heavy duty tie rods but no camber, standard bottom arms, standard top arms. It's got rated bushers but that's it. Standard track rod ends, standard steering rack, nothing special there. So we're going to upgrade that and try and make it better. I have noticed one thing that will be affecting my handling, which I hadn't seen yet, but definitely needs sorting, and that is the bracket inside the car, or inside the wheel arch, sorry. The bracket inside the wheel arch that actually mounts the front end is cracked there, which is probably giving flex in the bottom grill panel, which is where the subframe actually bolts through and to. So that could be giving me a bit of movement there. So that's another thing. There's lots of little things that we're going to sort out, but we've measured the bump. It was more for my knowledge, but now what we're going to do is we're going to start taking the engine out. Lots of little things to fix. Cable tie bonnet release. And then let's give you a show under here. So yeah, ProMotive R1 conversion, so it's an R1 5PW engine, fuel injected, 2003 I believe. So yeah, I think it makes about 160 horsepower, and as you can see, basically it's a complete mess under here. So when I originally built this car with this conversion, it was my first ever bike engine conversion. I'd never done it before. I bought a full bike and I modified as little of the wiring loom as possible. So basically the indicators, lighting system is all here in this snake's nest of a wiring loom. It's terrible, really is. You know, you look back on some of your projects in the past and you think, why on earth did I do that? And this is one of it, but it works, it runs, it's been great fun, but now is the time to make this thing proper and good. It's covered in oil, like, I do mean covered in oil. The owner after me, or one of the owners after me, took the chain guard off, so it's just been spraying oil around the engine bay. It's got a double radiator on it, which isn't fixed down, and subsequently has been touching on the bonnet release. I think we're going to put one big aluminium radiator in the front instead of having the 2 radiator systems. Yeah, and we're generally going to clean this up, get rid of all this tin foil, this heat stuff off the back, and make it all nice and good, basically. And we're going to get rid of the standard mini brake master cylinder, and we're going to upgrade that with twin master cylinders front and rear. so we actually get good brakes that'll actually stop this thing on a dime. There's on the car after this, I had an MK Indy kit car, and I had basically the same setup of brakes, vented front discs, about the same side, Willwood, four piston calipers. I did have Ferodo DS 2500 brake pads in it, but the stopping power of that car compared to this one was night and day. The kit car had a Willwood master cylinders and pedal box in it, and when you hit the brakes it stopped, whereas this one still, you hit the brakes and yeah, you wonder if you're going to stop. And yeah, obviously it's only using 3/4 of the disc as well, so we're going to fix that, yeah, and just go through and make it much better. So let's crack on. I'm going to get the bonnet off and start getting the engine out of it.
So first off, getting the radiators out. So we take the front radiator out, just give us some more space to get in there. There's not a lot of water in it at the moment because it had a water leak from one of the bottom hoses where it had actually been touching the drive chain on it. And once we got that radiator out of the way, trying to unclip all the wiring. So this is the full motorbike wiring loom in here. So it's actually got the indicators, everything. It's not just an engine loom. So we're going to neaten it all up. I think we're going to put a bulkhead connector on the scuttle, on the bulkhead. So it's one connection to remove the engine if we have to in the future. But yeah, just unclipping everything, getting absolutely filthy, covered in oil because it is disgusting.
Next up is just pulling off the front grille. Gives me access to is the neutral switch that's directly behind here, and some other bits and bobs, the gear linkage as well, which is easier from this angle. Yeah, once we've got the grill out of the way, fighting again with the wiring loom, and then taking off the airbox to get down to the connectors that are beneath that. So underneath the airbox we've got a couple of breathers and the air temperature sensor to disconnect. So I think I'm debating whether to change this air filter in the future. I might go with 4 single K&N ones or a new one of these. I'm also in my head toying with the idea of turbocharging it, but we'll see how practical that will become when I look at all the space constraints I've got.
and the wiring continues. Also a mountain of zip ties. I think this car was held together mainly with zip ties, electrical tape, and hopes and dreams at some stage. So basically, yeah, we're going to fix all that. But there's many things that I can't believe I've done, but I have. But yeah, that's the history in it. So off with the washer pump bottle, which I may relocate as well into the boot, just to clear some more space in the engine and neaten it all up. I do quite like the minimalist engine bay look as well, once it's all done. So part of the plan for this car is going to be to repaint all the engine bay in car colour, I think that's the best way to go. It's currently in some sort of black underseal-y type stuff. Again, I don't really know why I did that, what my reasoning was, but yeah, it needs fixing. And then finally out comes the snake's nest. All the wiring's out, so this is the full wiring loom for the engine. I also stripped out most of the car wiring loom from behind the dashboard as well, to make it easier, and then boxing everything up, keeping it nice and safe. This is all going to get a thorough cleaning, and then I'll start stripping it on probably on the kitchen table, to be fair, so it's nice and warm. And after you got the radiator out, the wiring loom disconnected and the gear linkage, there's really not a lot else holding this engine in. So we've got the exhaust to disconnect, which is just a straight pipe single RC40 or Fletcher back box on it, stainless steel one back box, not a lot of silencers, and then it's just the subframe mountings to do. So here I'm doing the front subframe, also looking at a bit of damage that I found as well that was a lot worse than I first thought.
So the mounting bolts for the front subframes here underneath the bumper. I'm thinking that the subframe's moving a lot, which is obviously probably one of the reasons why I've got vague handling as well as the bump steer. But I think the front end of the car must be moving so much. Wow. I'm interested to see the mountings at the rear of the subframe, so we'll see what they look like. But this needs repairing. I didn't want to put a new front end on the car, mainly because if I put a new front end on, so wings, front grille panel, etc., it just becomes a massive job. And then I have to have the car repainted to at least this line here, at least, and probably this metallic, so realistically further back. And then once I start doing that, there's other bits of paint here and there that I'm not happy with. So I end up having to have the whole car resprayed. And yeah, the price goes from, a few thousand maybe to many more for what I actually want to do at this stage. So I've got to decide about that. I need to obviously repair it, but how I go about that, I don't know. It's also this panel here, the wing, has got two dents there, which I assumed was from something dropping on it. I don't know if you can actually see the dents in it. Yeah, there you go. I assumed was from something dropping on it, but I'm now starting to think maybe it's from the car twisting under acceleration, the front end. I mean, these are, if the rear mounts on the subframe have failed, they were uprated I believe, but if they failed then that explains a lot. And then you've only got, basically the only thing that holds the front of the car on is two wings and the inner wings, which are thin, very thin steel, not really a lot of structure to them. So I'll have a think about this. I don't really want to flip front it. I think flip fronts they're okay, but they never line up, they never look, or people struggle to get them to look properly, look good. Right, so that's some thinking to do, but I've got to obviously repair that front panel. Yeah, right, let's crack on. Get the rear subframe mounts off, tracker ends dropped, and then the engine is ready to drop through the floor. If you want to operate the jack on that side, it's nice and steady together. Yeah. One second.
It's rolling forward.
Yeah, it's coming forward. Alright. Okay, so we can jack it some more now.
Just have it.
Yeah, just as far as that is.
You keep like to your jacket.
That,
Stand up straight and step back one. Stand up straight and step back
like that.
one. Keep going.
Yeah. And we're looking.
You need clear to come out sideways.
That's it. That's what.
Yeah, let me get some more then.
Yeah. So the engine's out, and it's absolutely filthy as you'd expect, but nice and easy to come out of these.
when you've done it before. First things I've noticed, so the two main strut top bolts were not super tight. They were tight enough but not super tight, so I think that's part of my movement. I've got an exhaust stud that's broken and disappeared. It's been broken in the head, so I need to extract that. Yeah, you can see how tight the clearances are on this conversion. Just exhaust to the subframe, everything about it's just tight. So, but yeah, we'll go into some more detail how it all works and stuff, but effectively, engine is facing backwards, it's 180 degrees out. Drive sprocket for the rear, what would be the chain on the motorbike, is here, so it's at the front of the engine, but then it comes into this box, which is a reversing gearbox, so you have got reverse with the flick of a lever down here. When that's working, chain drive, automatic, semi-automatic chain tensioner with a spring going to the diff at the back, and then in the back is a mini diff. This one's now got a Quaife ATB. I changed it not that long ago because I blew up the old one. And then standard mini drive shafts run into standard mini hubs at the moment. And there's the big Z-Cars brakes. Yeah, we'll go into more detail about this when I start stripping it. Next job, I've got to clean it all up and then take the engine out, and we'll make it super nice. But at the moment, that's it for now. So as she all sits, as I don't fall over. So yeah, engine on the floor, ready to clean it all up and start making progress. So yeah, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.